Chapter 1. In the 5 years since my mother died, I'd become an expert in an assortment of petty crimes. Now I was about to graduate to a much more serious offense. Arson. The plan to start a fire had burst into my mind the moment the final 5 of the bride search competition had been announced, and I'd been chosen among them. I'd been certain I'd be cut, that I'd survived elimination in 2 major tests in the past month by a combination of sheer luck and others' total incompetence. My shock at being chosen had been followed by relief. I'd thought this was a lifeline fate had thrown me, another chance to remain in the palace, to finally get to the gold lamp I was here to steal, the lamp I was to trade for the lives of my best friend and her father, and a portal back home to Arakura. Then reality had sunk in, like a rock tied to my foot, dragging me to the bottom of despair. None of that would be possible if I stayed. Now the other girls and their entourages were leaving, without the divided attention they'd afforded me, and without Cyrus to sneak me out of my quarters and around the palace. My heart clenched painfully as if it was shrinking, becoming a dried-out husk at the thought of him. There was no Cyrus. My Cyrus. The servant I'd thought was a fellow thief, the one I'd built all my hopes for the future around, was Cyaxares, the Prince of Cahraman. Every time my mind tried to wrap around this discovery, it unraveled, spooled away into chaos. And if during my initial shock I'd fleetingly thought that I could use this fact, that I could continue the competition, and even win him, that notion had now joined the massive heap of hopes that had shattered with the blow of one realization. I couldn't possibly win. I didn't even know how I'd thought there was a chance I could. Without Cyrus's help, I couldn't hope to get into the king's quarters, especially now with the heightened scrutiny that would come with only 5 of us left. I'd been invisible as one of 50, but as one of 5? I had no hope of escaping everyone's notice. I wouldn't be able to get the lamp, and Bonnie and Mr. Fairborn would be sacrificed to the beast of Rosemead. Being one of the final 5 wasn't a lifeline. It was a tightening noose. Since I couldn't wait for it to choke the life out of me, I had to find another way to get the lamp, and it had to be now. While the crowd of far more important people cluttered the palace, where I had one last chance to disappear. But to get into the most guarded place in the whole kingdom, I had to create as destructive a diversion as I could. Burning down the ballroom we were all in might be an extreme measure, but I was out of options. I was a cornered prey. To get out, I had to lash out. I eyed the largest chandelier that hung over the now empty dance floor, blazing with 1,000 candles. Though no one was anywhere beneath it, and I calculated no one could get harmed, I was literally playing with fire. Fire was unpredictable, unstoppable, and the smallest spark could result in devastation, but I couldn't consider that now. This was my last chance to save the Fairborns. Trembling with the enormity of what I was about to do, I picked a carving knife off the service table before retreating deeper into the ballroom. At its end, I ducked behind a column next to the thick, knotted rope that held up the chandelier. Eyes darting around to make sure no one noticed me, I breathed as deep as my constricted lungs would allow. I let all my breath out in an explosive rush as I slashed the rope with a slicing blow, and only cut halfway through it. Fright and frustration booming in my head, I gave my back to the room, trying to hide further behind the column, and frantically sawed through it. My heart seemed to have migrated to my arm, painfully throbbing in the hand that gripped the knife, threatening to loosen my cold, sweaty grip on the etched handle. I was panting by the time the rope finally snapped. With my next heartbeat, the chandelier plummeted to the floor with a crash that shuddered beneath my feet like an earthquake.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.